What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing great. Let me know if you got into anything new, fun, and exciting over the weekend. My wife and I took our boys to the Louisville Zoo, which we bought a membership for, I believe, last year. And man, that was one of the best purchases we've made because we've been to the zoo so many times. It's basically like a free trip after your first like 2 or 3 uses. Such a good deal. But one thing there is probably one of my favorite things, reticulated pythons, 25-foot plus snakes. They're absolutely massive. But the ones at the Louisville Zoo specifically were born through something called parthenogenesis. Basically, I believe that's how you say it, but basically the mother snake, the mama snake decided, I have no babies, I have no male, so she did what any reasonable snake would do, I guess, and just made her own babies. She made the babies by herself, and then she had, I think, 2 or 3, and the ones at the Louisville Zoo are babies born with no dad. They have no dad, and he didn't even leave. He just was never there to begin with, which is pretty interesting to me. I knew that some creatures could do that. I don't even know what I thought could, but I never knew that snakes could do that, and that it was not extremely rare either. But either way, guys, this doesn't really relate. Hydra is kind of a snake, so maybe it relates, but it's a pretty cool fact. Definitely a pretty cool fact to me. But today, I want to share with you all the team that I built for Hydra. Brutal. It was a 100% full auto team using our boy Michinaki. So a few days ago, I did a video talking about, showing my shard pulls for Michinaki, and I said that I was going to do a video on him in Hydra. And I wanted to get this out before the Michinaki event ended, in case any of you guys were kind of on the fence about actually going for him or not. So here we go. This is the team. We have Mighty Uko. He is in Provoke set, which I'll show you guys everything in just a minute. Michinaki, obviously crucial part of this team, because without him here, I would not be doing this video, because he's the entire reason for it. Venus, decreased defense and weakens, plus some HP burn. You can probably swap her out with somebody. I was going to do Ninja. I think Ninja would be incredible, but some people get a little bit weird in the comments when you use Ninja and they don't have him. We have Elva. I was going to use Duchess, but I was like, Duchess, Elva, who's a little bit more accessible? I went with Elva. I love Elva. She's such a good champion, but honestly, you can go probably either champion. Inquisitor Shamael, obviously here for the rotation 6, because the Head of Torment starts in the rotation, so Inquisitor Shamael is just so good here. And then we have, last but not least, Shamrock. Shamrock actually brings a lot of good stuff. A decreased speed, some increased speed, plus some other buffs, so a very solid champion for Hydra. I used him before with Molly, but now I just use Mighty Uko for the Provoke. So as far as the damage dealt per champion, which I'll show you guys the entire run at the end of this, there was 0 clicking on heads, 0 intervention manual, just 100% auto from the beginning, and let it run through. So with Michinaki, he looks like an absolute monster. The Green Ghost Rider himself doing almost 18 million damage. Now it's a little bit deceitful, because he is good and he is solid for this content specifically, but he's not doing all that himself. So how Hex works is the damage, as far as I'm aware, the damage that champions deal and the damage that's shared due to the Hex goes back to Michinaki. So if Inquisitor Shamael is doing 10 million damage and 3% of that damage is getting boosted by Hex, he's also contributing to Michinaki's damage. Hopefully that makes sense, but if you didn't know already, if you do single target damage to somebody under Hex, it gets spread to anybody else under Hex, so that damage that's spread is basically given to the champion who placed the Hex debuff, which makes sense, but it makes his numbers look a lot bigger than what they would be if you didn't have the Hex. But I guess he's bringing the Hex, so I guess that doesn't really matter, to be honest. Either way, guys, let's talk about these champions builds. So first up, we have, let's go Mighty Uko. So Mighty Uko used to be in a stun set for me. However, I was building this team and I'm like, I really want to take Molly out, so let's throw Mighty Uko in a Provoke set. It's not as good as stun for PvP, but it's very good this is very good in Hydra, because you're having a chance of placing Provoke. However, the Head of Decay is not a very good affinity right now, so we had a lot of weak hits. But this is still a very good set. So we have Provoke set, going pretty fast. I had him in the lead, so all of Inquisitor Shamael's boosting went straight to Mighty Uko. Very good there. 266, good accuracy. Speaking of accuracy, this is the amount of accuracy that you're going to need. Let me go to bring this in the front. For some reason, this is not showing up. Webcam, window capture, but it's not actually showing the page. So that is really strange. Let's see, main display. Here we go. Boom. There we go, guys. Some technical difficulties there. But as you can see, we have the accuracy needed over here on the side. 280 accuracy is needed to land your debuffs on the highest resistance head on brutal difficulty. So we have 363. We're golden. So we have provoke set, skills, everything's fully booked, masteries. We have War Master. War Master, it's very, very helpful in pushing out some extra damage. Next up, let's talk about Venus. So Venus is pretty fast and relentless, but honestly, I think you could use Ninja. You could probably use a different HP burn champion. You don't want to use Geomancer, not going to be a good option. You could probably use some max HP champions, Husk, Royal Guard. There's probably a lot of different options for this. But Venus is the champion who I was using before in this team, but instead of Michinaki, it was Molly. So Venus had all the damage on her shoulders. And it really wasn't a great situation because once she got ate, once she got swallowed, whatever it may be, the team just fell apart. So Venus currently is built with good HP, decent, good speed. I'd say 240 speed, definitely some pretty good speed. 100% crit rate, some crit damage. She's built for damage, plus to place her debuffs, decreased defense plus weaken. But like I said, you could probably swap in a different damage dealer without a huge difference in the overall damage. Wherever you can, get some Brimstone. Brimstone's going to be huge for this in general. I mean, it's most of the time going to land on the head of DK, or at least it feels like that. And when it does, the head of DK is not going to do anything because it's going to be provoked, ideally, from Mighty Uko or whatever provoker you bring. But if it lands on anything else, Brimstone does a lot of damage. Better yet, the Smite does do a lot of damage. So this is Venus's build. Next up, let's talk about Elva. So Elva is just in all Defiant gear. If you don't want to use Defiant, just use Stalwart. She's an absolutely amazing healer, but she's just in Defiant. Nothing super special outside that. Good HP, good defense, good speed. This is my Elva that I use for duoing content in Dragon. So if you want to make her more specific for Hydra, just bump up her resistance. Other than that, just give her good HP, good defense, good speed, and then she should be fine. Defiant plus or Stalwart, Immortal, anything that's going to give her some extra survivability is going to be amazing. She is not going to die with this. Like, she is just so good. Fully booked. The res is a super low cooldown. Like I said, you can probably use Duchess, probably use a Sifi. I really just wanted a champion bringing some good support, as well as bringing another res option. And I just thought Elva was a little bit more achievable than Duchess, but I could be wrong there. Here's her masteries. Picking people up as they get low on HP, more turns, more turn meter boosting, so on and so forth. Pretty simple, straightforward stuff. Next up, let's go Shamrock. I'm going to save Michinaki for the very end. So Shamrock, this is a build that I had for a while now. It may need to be changed, but basically, he's in Guardian gear. So whenever possible, if the champion's gearing, if their setup makes sense, I want to throw Guardian gear on them. I probably have Inquisitor Shamael in Guardian. I don't. It's relentless. But I do put a lot of champions in Guardian because if it can make sense and if you can fit the champion in Guardian, then it's going to make your other champions more survivable because he's going to absorb 10% of all damage dealt to ally champions, making the other champions just live a little bit better. However, your champion in Guardian is going to be a little bit more susceptible to dying. So make sure they're tanky. Good HP, good defense, good speed, doesn't need crit rate or crit damage, and then good accuracy. 280 plus is going to be good for brutal. There we go. So Guardian plus Perception, and then we have some refresh stuff as well. Not needed, but it's nice to have if you got it. If you don't have Guardian, not a huge deal, but if you do, go ahead and throw it on him. He's a perfect candidate for it. Now, as far as blessings, I did actually get a blessing for him earlier, but I didn't put it on him, unfortunately. I do have Brimstone Awakening for him, so Brimstone, it's going to be pretty good for him. As far as his masteries, we have Oppressor. I don't really know why I have Oppressor, honestly. I don't think he actually needs Oppressor, but that is his setup. So there we have it. Shamrock and his setup on everything. Next up, Inquisitor Shamael. So my Inquisitor Shamael, he is built to do a lot of damage. Hence the reason why he did almost, 10 million damage? He did some pretty decent damage, I guess. Let's see. Let's double check this, fact check this real quick. So he did, I believe, 10 million. 10 million. Okay, so not the greatest, but not terrible. He could do more, but hey, 10 million damage. He's in Relentless, so I think it's worth it. So there we go. Let's talk about his gear. So as far as his gear goes, Relentless plus Cruel. Some defense ignore, good HP, probably HP percentage chest plate, so we can definitely squeeze more damage out. But that's kind of where you got to balance. Do you trust your res champions enough to pick him up when he falls down, or do you want to make sure he survives? I went with making sure he survives. So good HP, we built him for crit rate, crit damage, decent speed, nothing super crazy, no resistance, no accuracy needed, unless you're going for a Mischief Tank Shamael, which is a viable strategy. Just make him really slow, but here we go with the decent speed, crit rate, crit damage strategy. So he's going to put out a decent amount of damage, helping us reach that one key brutal, which is 29 million, by the way. That's his build, his skills, fully book it, give him some extra damage, very nice. Obviously, his passive's contributing massively to this run with removing the fears from the Head of Torment, which is super, super annoying. As far as his masteries go, there we go. We have Giant Slayer, which is definitely the way to go. So go Giant Slayer if you can. And the last champion to talk about, Michinaki. I'm trying to make this a faster, more to the point, and overall idea of a team. But here we go, Michinaki in Relentless plus Perception. So with Michinaki, my goal, he's a defense-based champion. His debuffs, very important. A1, chance of placing HP burn. The A2 has a chance of placing that decreased defense. Also, a chance of placing decreased attack if 2 or more enemies are under Hex debuffs. Now, I didn't really need the decreased attack. We have Mighty Uko doing decreased attack from the A1 ability, so Michinaki didn't really need to rely on that A2 placing the decreased attack, but if it did, that's incredible. So I did prioritize his A3. His A3 Hex places the Hex. The first hit removes all the buffs. So we have 2 buff strip champions. We have Michinaki plus Mighty Uko. Mighty Uko also places block buffs. So we have a very high likelihood of preventing the enemy from keeping buffs up, and if they do, getting rid of them pretty quickly. So a very solid kit overall. Plus the Hex makes us do so much more damage because the damage is being shared because of the Hex. And then his passive allows him a chance to join in on attacks that the allies deal. Well, better yet, let's read it, okay? Whenever an ally attacks an enemy under Hex debuff, this champion has a 50% chance to team up and join the ally's attack. This effect does not work against the Hydra exposed next. Not a big deal. One thing to keep in mind though, if you're using him and you want to click the heads individually, champions like Mighty Uko just target a champion with no HP burn already on him. Because if you target that head, then Michinaki has a chance to join in, attack that head, and place that HP burn. But if you want to do it on full auto, you're not going to do the targeting. You're just going to walk away, come back, and then hopefully he was pretty smart with it, but maybe not. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Full auto stuff is easy, but it does allow for a lot more RNG to be involved. So as far as his artifacts go, we have him good HP. Don't want to make him no HP, not strictly just defense. The defense is okay, 3,900. Honestly, boosting it up would be better, but hey, he's okay where he's at. Okay speed. Honestly, if I really wanted to pour more resources into him, I'd do 240 plus, make him as fast as I could. But his crit damage and accuracy, he's kind of stat demanding. And this build specifically, pretty stat demanding. We need good defense, good HP to survive. We need decent speed, ideally. We need 100% crit rate, good crit damage, and accuracy. So my Venus's gear could actually be swapped over 1-for-1 to Michinaki. Make him, let's see, a 105, 205, 240 speed, good HP, but a little more defense on him. And then the accuracy, it's an easy swap. But I was certain Venus was going to stay in the team, not so much for Michinaki, but hey, he definitely very, very satisfied with how he performed, so I'm going to keep him in the team. But this is his build. It's his build currently, and the team worked out pretty well. As far as his skills, that's what we have. And then as far as his masteries, we have over here. So as far as the team's presets go, let's talk Brutal 1 key. We have Mighty Uko and Provoke set. Very, very important. Prioritizing the A2 ability, I consider turning off the A3, but if Elva gets eaten but not swallowed, she's just in the Hydra, then somebody dies, we have no res. Having a champion placing the increased speed, not a big deal. So we do have a lot of increased speed coming from the team though. Michinaki, number 1 on the A3, double degeneracy. So number 1 on the A3, number 2 on the Dire Whirl. Venus, no presets. I guess I just forgot to set them. Honestly, I usually set 1 and then 2, but to be honest, this worked fine, so I'm going to leave it as it is. But you can definitely change that if you see fit. Now for Elva, we have number 1 on this A2 ability, but honestly, it may be best to put number 1 on this A3, simply because if she has a chance to res, she only reses when somebody's dead. So if nobody's dead, she doesn't need to use that, and she won't use it. She'll default to this. I can set this to number 2, and then Sprouting Season to number 1, but I don't really want her skipping a res to do this necessarily. So I may change that, and if you test it out and it's giving you a hard time, you can change that as well. Inquisitor Shamael, number 1 on the A2. I've noticed sometimes he feels weird when using his ability, so I set the priority to the number 2. You would think, or his A2, I guess. You would think he would just always use that, but maybe not. Who knows? So Shamrock, the last champion, bringing the decreased speed, AoE, plus a lot of different buffs. Very solid champion in my opinion. We have number 1 on the A3, number 2 on the A2 ability. So there we go, guys. A 100% full auto, brutal Hydra team, which is not only 1 key, but a little bit extra. So 29.4 is the goal, and we made it to 46.9. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this was not the first run. I think it took me 3 runs to get this. The first run was pretty good, got very close. The second run, I forget what happened. Maybe just got unlucky. The third run, this was it. So obviously I'm sharing this one. Full auto teams are not going to be 100% one key. They're going to be 100% full auto, but you may have to reset it a few times. If you want to do it some manual clicking, some manual head selecting, that's going to make it much, much more consistent, and you can obviously intervene. But if you want to take 90% of the guesswork out of it, 90% of that manual intervention out of it, then just build a team that can do full auto. It's difficult, especially without Necmo. It's very difficult to make a team that's full auto, but I do really believe the Provoke set on Mighty Uko, plus even Michinaki, just helped out quite a bit. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Enjoy the actual Hydra run. If you have any questions or don't believe anything, just watch that. It shows you everything you need to see. It will be sped up though, because that's a 20-minute run that you guys do not want to see. So thank you all very much for watching. Look forward to seeing you all in hopefully tomorrow's video, and I'll catch you all next time.